Welcome to Flash Bible Stories. Today we'll dive into one of the most intense and captivating stories in the Bible. It's the story of a powerful queen, a woman so wicked that her name became a symbol of evil, Jezebel. We're talking about a woman who ruled with manipulation, deceit, and bloodshed. Her wickedness ran so deep that she relentlessly harassed one of God's greatest prophets, Elijah. What we'll discuss today is not just a historical story, but a story packed with lessons for our everyday lives. This story will cover how Jezebel clashed with Elijah, the prophet of God, how her evil plans unfolded, and eventually how she met her horrific death. You'll want to stay with us until the end, because what happens to her is a clear sign that God doesn't ignore evil forever. Make sure to subscribe to Flash Bible Stories, leave your comments, and let us know your thoughts on this incredible story. Jezebel was the daughter of Ethbaal, the king of the Sidonians, a pagan nation that worshipped the god Baal. When she married King Ahab of Israel, she didn't leave behind her false gods. Instead, she brought Baal worship to the land of Israel and influenced her husband and the entire nation to turn away from the one true God. She was a queen known for her cunning nature and ruthless ambition. Jezebel wasn't content with just having political power. She wanted to control the spiritual direction of Israel. Through her influence, Ahab built altars to Baal, built temples, and even set up an Asherah pole for idol worship. Jezebel did all she could to eradicate the worship of Yahweh from Israel, silencing prophets and raising up false prophets in their place. Her cruelty didn't stop at influencing idol worship. Jezebel was directly responsible for the murder of Naboth, a righteous man, just so her husband could get his vineyard. This ruthless act only added to her growing reputation as one of the most evil women in the Bible. In the midst of this wickedness, God raised up Elijah, a bold prophet who wasn't afraid to stand up to Jezebel and King Ahab. Elijah confronted the false prophets of Baal in a dramatic showdown on Mount Carmel. This event was one of the most pivotal moments in Elijah's ministry. The prophet challenged 450 prophets of Baal to prove who the true God was. He called down fire from heaven to consume a sacrifice that he had drenched in water, demonstrating God's undeniable power. Baal's prophets could do nothing, and the people of Israel were left in shock. After this miraculous event, Elijah ordered the false prophets to be killed, and in a single day, Jezebel lost much of her religious power over Israel. But Jezebel, who was not one to take defeat lying down, made it her mission to destroy Elijah. When Jezebel heard what Elijah had done, she was furious. She sent a threatening message to the prophet, "May the gods deal with me, be it ever so severely, if by this time tomorrow I do not make your life like one of them." 1 Kings 19:2. Elijah, despite his earlier courage, was terrified. Jezebel was known for following through on her threats, and Elijah feared for his life. He fled into the wilderness, deeply discouraged and exhausted, feeling like a failure. He even prayed to God to take his life, saying, "I have had enough, Lord, take my life. I am no better than my ancestors." 1 Kings 19:4. But God wasn't finished with Elijah. In the wilderness, an angel of the Lord came to him, providing him with food and drink and giving him the strength he needed to continue his journey. Elijah traveled for 40 days and 40 nights to Mount Horeb, where he had an encounter with God, not in the wind, earthquake, or fire, but in a still small voice. Jezebel continued her campaign of terror, encouraging idolatry and committing murder to maintain her grip on the throne. Despite seeing the power of God through Elijah, she was determined to wipe out any who followed Yahweh. She wasn't just interested in political power. Jezebel wanted to control the hearts of the people, leading them deeper into sin. During this time, God instructed Elijah to anoint Jehu as the future king of Israel. Jehu would be the one to finally deal with Jezebel's wickedness, but her day of reckoning was still to come. One of the darkest chapters of Jezebel's life came when Ahab desired the vineyard of a man named Naboth. Naboth refused to sell his family inheritance to the king, and Ahab was deeply upset. Seeing her husband's disappointment, Jezebel devised a cruel plan. She wrote letters in Ahab's name, ordering the leaders of Naboth's town to accuse him of cursing God and the king. Jezebel's evil scheme succeeded, and Naboth was falsely convicted and stoned to death. Ahab took possession of the vineyard, and Jezebel had once again shown how far she would go to get what she wanted. But God saw what she did. Elijah was sent to deliver a chilling prophecy to Ahab. In the place where dogs licked up Naboth's blood, dogs will lick up your blood. Yes, yours. 1 Kings 21:19. Elijah also told Jezebel that she would face a gruesome death, and dogs would devour her body by the walls of Jezreel. Years later, the time finally came for Jezebel to face the consequences of her evil life. After the death of Ahab, their son Joram became king, but Jehu, the man Elijah had anointed, was now on a mission to rid Israel of Ahab's entire family and bring Jezebel to justice. When Jezebel heard that Jehu was coming to Jezreel, she didn't panic. Instead, she put on makeup, did her hair, and positioned herself in a window, confident and defiant. She greeted Jehu with mocking words, calling him Zimri, a reference to a man who had killed a king and taken the throne. But Jehu wasn't intimidated. He looked up and shouted, "Who is on my side?" "Who?" 2 Kings 9:32. 2 or 3 eunuchs looked down at him, and Jehu commanded, "Throw her down." Without hesitation, they threw Jezebel out of the window. Her body hit the ground with such force that blood splattered on the walls, and Jehu's horses trampled her underfoot. Jehu went inside, ate, and then commanded that Jezebel's body be buried, as she was a king's daughter. But when they went to bury her, all that was left of her were her skull, feet, and hands. The prophecy had been fulfilled. The dogs had eaten Jezebel's flesh. Jezebel's death was as gruesome as her life had been wicked. Her story serves as a powerful reminder of God's justice. Despite her wealth, power, and influence, Jezebel couldn't escape the judgment of God. Her evil deeds, her persecution of the prophets, and her manipulation of King Ahab all led to her terrifying end. Her legacy lives on as a warning against the dangers of pride, rebellion, and idolatry. Jezebel's spirit, symbolizing control, manipulation, and ungodliness, can still be seen today, and her story urges us to stand firm in our faith, just as Elijah did. Thank you for watching this gripping story of Jezebel and Elijah. This isn't just a story from the past, it's a lesson for today. Remember, no matter how powerful or wicked someone seems, God's justice will always prevail in the end. Don't forget to subscribe to Flash Bible Stories for more amazing stories from the Bible. Share your thoughts in the comments. What lesson did you learn from this story? Until next time, stay blessed.